Okay, hey guys, so today I'm going to give you a very quick lesson in EQing. This is just a beginner's guide for someone who's new to mixing and just needs to understand the basics of EQing. So, what I've got open up on here is Logic Pro's stock plugin of channel EQ. I go into here and I click EQ and I'll click channel EQ and I click stereo, and this is what will come up. Okay, so this is what you're going to see when you very first open your EQ on Logic. So as you can see, there's quite a bit to take in if you're very new to this, but don't worry, it will become more easy and natural to navigate after, you know, a few solid attempts at trying. It's like anything, the more hours you put in, the quicker and easier you'll learn and what you'll get from it. The very basics, so an equalizer, it just adjust the volume of your instrument's tone, whether that's your voice, piano, etc. You can raise good volumes and you can lower bad volumes. You can make cuts, you can create shelves, and I'll go into detail on that. Right now, I'm going to just run you through your EQ spectrum and sort of explain a few things. Your sub bass lies between 20 and 60 hertz. Your bass lies between 60 to 200. Your low mids are between 200 to 600, your mids are 600 to 3000, upper mids 3K to 8K, and then your highs are sort of 8K to 20K. That's your like top end of your EQ spectrum. So if you want air, you would sort of raise up here with a shelf. If you want warmth, you're going to raise around the sort of 500 mark. If you want to cut out mud, I'd say go to about 300, add a low Q width of about 93, and just lower down like so. The more you cut, the less you lose, but then you don't want to take too much away and mess up the whole mix. One of the biggest things you'll see me say in other videos is that less is more, but just do lots of less to make more, if that makes sense. You don't want to do massive changes. You want to be subtle and often. Okay, so what are these things? These things here, they are known as bowels. So you drag these bowels across your frequency spectrum. So let's say, for example, I wanted to boost at 200, and let's say I wanted to solo it. So I click all of these ones off and say I just want to look at this for now. So I've got my bow and I just drag my mouse up and I can take it all the way up to 24. I can take it all the way down to 24. Now you have this thing here which basically shows how wide the bowl is. So if I do it like this, it goes up like that, and you can see it encapsulates a hell of a lot more of the spectrum. And if I do it like this, it gets sharper and narrower. And let's say I was on an acoustic guitar and there was just one frequency around 1000 hertz and I just cannot stand the sound of hearing it in my mix. I might raise that all the way up to something like 22, lower it down, and I might do either a complete cut, I might even raise it more so that it's, you know, to 100 even, but I don't think I've ever done that, but just for example. But let's say you don't want to take too much of the sonic away, you just want to lower that sound, so I might have it to minus 14 dB. And then, so you can turn that off if you decide, no, I don't want it. You can turn it back on just simply by clicking this. We then have things called high pass filters, which is this red one down here. So what that does is it cuts the entirety of your low end and it lets the highs pass through. So let's say I didn't want to hear any bass. Or let's say, for example, actually, let's say this is a vocal and it's a male rap vocal. So I'd take it all the way up to 80 hertz. I'd get rid of anything beneath that because we don't need to hear that in our mix. We don't want to hear anything below that in the vocals, and we want to make space for a kick drum or for a bass in which we would have it boosted instead. So I usually tend to have it at about 0.71, and then that gives it a very good cut. Now, if I were to open up Fab Filter, just for instance, and I were to go into Q2, this isn't a stock plugin, but you'll catch my drift. Let's say I wanted to go to around the 100 mark, and I would click here and I would go either low shelf or low cut. I always go low cut because you'll want to cut anything beneath it, okay? But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to be explaining things on the channel EQ stock plugin. Okay, so hertz, they are a unit of measurement for sound waves. So let's turn these back on. So we can't really hear anything below 20 hertz, and some people can't hear, you know, much beneath, you know, 30, 40. We can't really hear 20k hertz. I think that's where a dog can hear. That's why our spectrum only goes up to there anyway. But yeah, you might want a high shelf, for example. So instead of having it on a bow, I'll use this pink one here to make a shelf. And let's say I was doing rap vocals again, and I really wanted to make it so that they were more crisp and I could hear a bit more clarity. I'd put the shelf to about 5000 hertz, and I'd do a +2. Okay, now let's say in your mix you want something brighter. Say you've taken out the mud here at 300 hertz, you've got your Q width at 0.93, you've done it to about -1, -1.5, -2, let's go with -1.5 for now. You want it to make it brighter, I take it up to about the 3000 hertz. Again, I'm going to change the width using my Q band, take it to about 0.93, and then I'm going to boost it by 1.5. Let's turn that off for now. Let's turn that off for now. And right now, in your mix, you've got rid of any rumble, any bass. You've got rid of some mud, and you've added some clarity. But now you want to add some warmth. Grab it, take it to around 550, roughly. It depends on the sound that you're listening to. Make a lower width like that. Okay, so finally what I'm going to sort of show you is, say you've done a load of EQing here and you don't like it, you can always recall default. Let's say you found a template you really like, you can save as default and just call it, I don't know, mastering default. Finally, there is one other good thing that I'd like to show you for this very quick tutorial, and that is that there are many presets in the stock plugin for the channel EQ on Logic. You've got drums, keyboards, guitar, horns, voice, mastering, EQ tools. So let's say, for example, you want to just go into guitar, you just recorded a guitar and you want to improve the way it sounds, classic guitar improve. And what it will do is it will just bring in its own EQ, and then you can just adjust these parameters as you like. I quite often use guitar sweetener. I think this is a really good one, but obviously depending on how the guitar is recorded or the sample that I'm using, I will just adjust these settings as and when. So maybe I want to boost it a bit more here, or I want to take it away, or I don't need anything there. Let's say, for example, where they've got it at 7500 hertz here, it's not boosted at all, but I want it a bit more boosted. Usually, however, with guitars, I would actually have a cut to about the 10k. Again, depends on the sample and the recording. Other than that, you've got all these different parameters here. You can go through them all, look at how they've all been made. Like you can see here, the sibilance has been taken out of the hi-hat. You've just got to basically decide for yourself, is this right for my mix? If so, great, use it. If it's almost right, then change it how you want to change it. There's no right or wrong way really, it is your mix and how you want it to sound. Take this tutorial with a pinch of salt. There might be things that you want to change yourself, or there might be things that you feel I've missed. If so, just let me know, add it in the comments, and we'll keep cracking with all these tutorials. Cheers!